This market cycle has been known for a few things. One of them is NFT or non fungible tokens. Now, there are a few NFTs which have been sold for upwards of $1 million, and with every day passing, the interest for NFTs is increasing by leaps and bounds. In our channel, we have got an expert today who is gonna tell us what exactly is NFT. He is also an artist and he's gonna tell you how you can actually mint an NFT and more importantly, how you can make money in NFT. So, if you like NFT and if you like making money, smash up the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also watch this video till the end because there are a lot of knowledge and information that this person is going to share. So, let's jump on to the video. So, guys, today we have Abhishek Bhaskar with us. He is one of the leading beatboxers going around the country. Not only that, he's also a national award winning architect as well as an entrepreneur. So, Abhishek, first of all, welcome to Crypto Bulls Club. Thank you for taking out time. So, guys, let me tell you that he's the first ever beatboxer to work on a project for the United Nations where he collaborated with over 1200 plus singers from 12 countries to promote international peace. He has his own NFTs in place. He is the ex-youth brand ambassador for Adidas Originals and JBL. And Abhishek has his own YouTube channels where you can go and find out a little more about his work. So Abhishek, again, welcome to Crypto Bulls Club. Thank you so much for taking out time for our small community, and thank you for doing this as well.
Thank you, Soham. Happy to be here. It's a pleasure knowing you and the entire team at Crypto Bulls Club. So,
Sure.
learned a lot, made a lot of good memories until the past couple weeks because of the market. But yeah, happy to be here and happy to discuss NFTs and metaverses and
Sure.
everything in between that.
Okay, okay. So Abhishek, let me start off with a very, very basic question, right? How would you define an NFT? What is exactly an NFT? Now, is it only limited to, I know that you have your own NFTs which are into the sound category, right? But mostly they, we have been for us, our exposure has been limited to digital images. So tell me in like a layman language for our community, what exactly is an NFT?
See, think of NFTs as what you own in real life, a digital version of that. Like literally a digital version of that. Let's not overcomplicate it with jargons and everything. The easiest way to explain NFTs is for example the a painting of Mona Lisa, right? So that is a physical piece which only one person can have or one owner can be established. So in the digital place, there was never a system in place for you to own anything. We only know WhatsApp forwards and everything, but we can never find the root of that particular who was the first person to share it, right? So the blockchain solves that problem by timestamping every single action which we do. So the moment we mint it, like how every country mints coins, like or they introduce more liquidity into our system, like infinite number of things, right?
Yeah.
So similar to that, NFTs are a way where we mint it or we upload our artwork. So again, artwork is step one of this entire NFTs journey, right? So where we can upload our work onto the blockchain. So how people upload photos onto Facebook, we upload it onto the blockchain so that there's a timestamp. Okay, Abhishek Bhaskar spoke to Soham at 8 o'clock or whatever time that is, right? So that way there is a proof of an event happening, which means and even the data will be stored on chain, right? It will be on IPFS and it can never be removed. So if someone wants to hack it, they can't take it away. If for example if someone hacks Facebook, people can remove our pictures, and that is the true ownership of like a digital asset. It could be anything, as you said. Images were step one, and then we moved to videos, audio visual, and that was step three, where we bring in sound, we bring in visuals, and we showcase that as an NFT. So what NFTs does kind of in fact is it helps a lot to the artist, and this is probably the greatest time to be alive as an artist, because all the previous generations of artists, right? The moment they sell their work, it's done. They're not going to make any more money from future transactions, right? So if Leonardo da Vinci, imagine, after one of his paintings got sold for, say, in Indian rupees 10 crores, right? And if someone, the guy who collected or the person who collected it, if he or she sold it for 100 crores,
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo da Vinci would not see another rupee from that, right? So, but what the blockchain does is it will give you royalty in perpetuity, which means that if I sell artwork to you and you sell it to someone else, right? The moment you sell it to someone else, I will still be getting a royalty because at the time of minting or uploading my work onto the blockchain, I can specify a percentage of what I will get on every secondary sale. Me and you were the primary sales. After you, whatever happens is everything becomes secondary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will make a percentage cut of my choice on every secondary sale. So that is beneficial beyond boundaries to artists because one is your there is food on your table in perpetuity, right? The more your collectors keep
Hmm.
churning out hands, the more royalties you tend to make. And even after I'm done, whoever owns my account, right, whoever owns my seed phrase, they'll still keep yielding the benefits from that. So
R-
NFTs that way they are booming. That's one of the main reasons why even traditional artworks they're getting converted into NFTs, right? A physical painting is made into an NFT purposely now because of this royalty feature in perpetuity. So whoever owns, if I give you a physical painting, and for example, after you it moves to Sanjib or anyone, right? So you'll have to move that painting to Sanjib. Who is the current owner will have the actual physical piece.
Hmm.
So these are
Understood.
called phygital pieces. So physical and digital
Okay,
pieces.
that's a new word which has come out, right? Phygital.
Yeah, yeah, phygital. That's the
And
trend word for 2020.
oh, okay, phygital. You mentioned about minting, right? So, what exactly is minting? Let's say I have a piece of art lying at my home which was created by me. How can I mint it? Is it just like, scanning the image, uploading it onto a blockchain? Can you explain the process of minting an NFT from a
Yeah,
physical piece of art? How do I convert it into an NFT?
sure. First, I'll address physical, and then we can look at digital as well. How people upload their digital work. So
Mhm.
physical, what a lot of painters and physical artists do is basically, yeah, they take a very high resolution scan of that particular piece, and how they market it is also, when you buy the digital piece, you also get the physical piece delivered to you, right? Since it is not possible to upload like the actual physical piece, right? They're in the digital environment, so they'll upload a digital copy, and then with that, the physical copy is attached.
Hmm.
It's mentioned in the contract saying that when you buy this NFT, you'll also get the physical NFT mailed to you, or either for free or again, it depends on a lot of details. So now, what exactly minting is basically you're uploading your work, your creation. It can be your physical paintings, it can be your digital paintings, or in my case, like the Meta Voice audiovisual pieces, and it could also be just pure videos, right, without any sound or anything. Literally, whatever you can think of. People have, sold anything and everything. They've just taken a picture of their hand and sold that as an NFT, right? So a lot of possibilities are there, but essentially any piece of data or any file format that is accepted on that native marketplace, right, that can be minted as an NFT. Minting means you're creating the smart contract. You're entering all the details. What is the name of that particular asset you're trying to create, and how many copies you want to make. When a particular country wants to introduce fiat into the country, right?
Yeah.
So they mention, okay, we are going to print 150 billion dollars or 1,000 crores or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? And they can keep doing it. But why? That is fungible. It can keep getting printed and
Yes.
printed. In NFTs, you can't do that. The moment I say, okay, my initial Meta Voice piece will only have 5 editions. In the case of Pikachu, Pokemon cards, right? Again, the more you buy, the more they keep printing it, right? There is no
True.
solid proof of how many actual number of cards exist. But in NFTs, there is, that, okay, when I'm buying it, I know this is the first edition out of fifth, or the second edition, or the third edition, right? Something like that. So you're fixing a particular amount of tokens. So these are essentially tokens. So think of Bitcoin if only there were only 50, 100 editions of the Bitcoin, right? Which means the circulating supply would only be 100 rather than 21 million, which we'll eventually end up with. So that way, it's very beneficial because people know what they're buying into, what the scarcity is. All those details will be mentioned in the smart contract. So minting is nothing but you're uploading the details. When you do it on Facebook, you upload a picture, a title, a description, and all that, right? So that is exactly the same thing which we are doing, but in a decentralized fashion. Facebook is centralized. This
Yes,
is
of course.
decentralized. Right. So
Yeah.
that way, it's as easy. I think people sort of overcomplicate what exactly is happening there, and you can mention what do you want to sell it at, or if you don't want to sell it, just have it on top of the blockchain, right? That is also possible. You don't need to sell it. In my case, what I did was for my brother's birthday, I gifted him an NFT. I didn't sell
Wow.
it to him. I actually should have sold it to him. I didn't sell it to him, but I just transferred. I minted it on the blockchain, on the Tezos blockchain, and I transferred it to his wallet. So I secretly went and created a wallet for him the previous night, and I transferred it to him. So that way, if even NFT doesn't have to be purely monetary in every single transaction that
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
minting is essentially that.
Okay.
And for our this thing, because an audiovisual format is MP4,
Hmm.
MP4 is the most common audiovisual NFT format that is accepted.
True.
So we mint that, we create that in whatever software it is. So 2D artists created on their 2D softwares, 3D on their 3D softwares, and we mint it or basically upload that artwork. We
Hmm.
mention all the details, which in the back end it becomes a smart contract and it gets uploaded onto the marketplace where it goes for sale or just to showcase your work or something
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm. Okay, and you mentioned that writing the smart contracts, right? So, an artist essentially may not be a technical person. So, does he need a technical support or a technical person in order to mint his NFTs, or how does it work?
Not at all. That's what even I thought. So that is when So when I minted my first NFT, I was sitting right next to the founder of Kalamint, Sandeep Sangli, and because again I wanted to do it right, because the moment someone tells me some smart contracts, minting, blockchain at
Yes.
that particular point of time, I was like, should I just mint my work or just upload it on YouTube? Like, so complex, right? So I told him, like, let me come meet you, and if you have time, just help me out with my first mint. So he sat next to me, told me all the details that was, and I was like, this is the first thing I told him, and I really got emotional at that particular point of time because my first NFT, right?
Yes.
And I was like, this is it, only this much. So he was like, yeah, yeah. That's why he told me, he's like, you could have rather stayed at home and done this. Why would you? Why you had to come here? But yeah, I wanted to do it right. But it's extremely easy. If you've uploaded a video on YouTube or Facebook, wherever, you know how to mint your work onto the blockchain.
Right. And talking about your first NFT, right? So, when was the first time you heard the term NFT, or how did you come across the term? We all know it's a buzzword in the second half of 2021, and it's like rapidly growing, and it will keep on growing. So, when was the first time as an artist you came to know about NFTs?
Um, I came across NFTs a little later, but I came across the concept of digital ownerships, right? Like the collectibles is something which I've always been fascinated with as a kid. I still have my Pokemon cards, the Tazos, which you used to get inside the
Yes,
Cheetos packets and
Cheetos.
everything. I was always a huge collectible nerd of sorts.
Yeah.
So that so all those were physical pieces, right?
Mhm.
So but I never understood the concept of digital collectibles or like digital ownership. How can you own something which can just be, again, as people say, just screenshot it and take it up? So that is where I came across like many NFT projects. Again, I didn't know they were NFT projects. I just thought they were like digital, like the crypto kitties and all that. And I've been following this artist Beeple Craft
Mhm.
for a long, long time. As an because I'm an architect and an artist as well, so
Yeah.
I tend to do weird things with 3D modeling. So at that time, he just posted something that it's going live on this marketplace. I had no idea, and then the moment people sort of saw that it got sold for to Metacove and Vignesh Sundaresan for this enormous exorbitant amount of like the value, right? And that is where it kind of like, shit, this actually works. This is a real thing that is happening, and the monetary part of it was secondary, but
Hmm.
an artist that has been creating. So this guy creates single piece of artwork every single day, and his consistency is it's amazing for someone who's been doing it for 13, 14, 15 years. And that kind of got stuck to me. And I was working on Meta Voice since 2016, late of 2016, when I was interning at a company, Sujit Nair Design Group. And I had this eureka moment, but I didn't know how to showcase that artwork to people. I wanted to make a research paper out of it. It would have been the most stupid decision, because you can't type beatbox on a research paper. Right? That would
Absolutely.
have not worked. So I just kept procrastinating. Let me do it next year. Let me do it next year. And finally, I realized that okay, beatboxing can go out as a digital ownership. Meta Voice can be there as a visual piece where people see it rather than read it. And that is how I decided, okay, remove everything, and I'm just going to focus on this particular thing, getting these out as NFT. Because the main thing I was focusing at that time was legacy, right? Like, even once I'm done, how can people own a piece of my work and they can take it further, right? So otherwise, if it's just a research paper, it'll be hidden in some library somewhere and no one will bother reading it.
True.
So that is how it started for me, like my NFT journey. And ever since then, it's just been a roller coaster. There's so much to learn in the space. I'm awake till like 4 or 5 in the morning, speaking to people in Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, wherever, or Discord channel. I'm beatboxing with people across the globe. I'm beatboxing. There's another person rapping in Spanish, and all these different languages. It's just insane.
True. So art does not have any language, it seems, right? That's
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, where does the true value or the intrinsic value of an NFT lies? Can you explain that? How, what makes an NFT valuable in that case? We understand that for anything to be valuable, there has to be a demand, right? A demand and a supply. But
Yeah.
what is the intrinsic value of an NFT? How is the base price determined? I know it could be determined by the artist, but how does it grow from there?
See, in terms of valuing an NFT or an artwork, right? So it's not very different from an artwork, because essentially you're just keeping an artwork on the blockchain, right? So I think that way it adds a lot of value for people, because they get to own a particular person's, in art it's like you're selling a part of your soul. Like, when I'm creating something, it takes a lot of my
Yeah.
time and energy. Like, I've been working on something for the past 4 years, which you're seeing an end result, like a 30-45 second end result now. So imagine that. So that is how you ideally would price a particular piece. And again, in my case, I took it slow, right? I wanted to have that gradual curve up. So that is how I price my NFTs. I price my NFTs, sort of what would be a starting fair price, and gradually increased it, right? So sort of like my own personal bonding curve of such. So depending on what exactly the demand is and how the market is reacting to this, I sort of kept pricing it, but I made sure every single sale is slightly higher than the previous one, because what I wanted to do is the first person who bought it, right? So if they wanted to resell it again, they'll still be able to do it, because my price is constantly increasing, right? So as artists, that way you can also add value to your collectors. And again, people who collect these NFTs, I think they're one of their key interests, right? Of course, there are people who buy it just for flipping stuff. So there are different types of collectors, I would say, like people who just buy it to flip it, and people who, in fact, do both. Like people who just buy it for the art and they forget about it, right? And again, there are people who do both. I'm a person who does both as well. So I buy some NFTs, I don't sell them at all, which probably makes some artists angry, because they want that that churning so that they get the royalty.
Royalty, yes.
But some artworks, I put them on sale, because I know they'll have more secondary sales, and which I believe I can make a quick profit off of. So I think that way it depends on how you want to play that particular market. So there was one flip which I did in on Kalami, where there was this really famous company called, I think, Fuzzballs. So I bought one for 2 pesos, and within, I think, 15, 20, again, I just put up a random number, right? Because again, I didn't want to sell that card, so I just thought, okay, let me put it at 500 pesos. Who will buy it? And I was like, because I wanted to be such a high price, so that no one will think, okay, cool, why should I buy it for 500 pesos? And within 15-20 minutes, like, someone just bought it. Like, I see, I think, 412 pesos or something in my account.
Oh,
because
wow.
the owners, the artist royalty, and
Yeah.
the platform fees
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah. Yeah.
gets deducted, and you get a certain amount
The-
of Tezos. I was like, is this from this point? So and it was just in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes. So that way, FOMO also plays into a lot of these
yes.
situations. So that's good. And again, it depends on what value you see.
Yeah.
Art is subjective. I think that is what everyone needs to understand, right? There was a person who sold a single pixel, I think, for 18,000 or $180,000.
Oh,
Like just a
wow.
dot, and that got sold for. But even in real life, right? Even for
Hmm.
example, there was this today. I think even you would have. I'm sure you would have read this. Some influencer was selling air. I would say air for X amount of thing, and in real life, those are not as NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Air, but from the wrong place. Yeah. So all these things happen, but again, not to equate that with NFT because they actually have some intrinsic value. But I'm
Right.
saying like craziness is everywhere. But for me, that was crazy. Like I myself wouldn't have bought it for 500 pesos. I bought it for two just so that I could place some a random number which came into my head, and it actually got sold. So that was pretty shocking. But
That's
that's not the case everywhere.
that's the fastest 200x someone has done as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Yeah, more
absolutely.
than 200. Yeah, more than 200.
Yeah,
You actually did 250x, but you got more than 200x.
yes.
Amazing, amazing.
And I'm
So,
happy with 200x. So
yeah,
that's good.
absolutely. And speaking of buying and selling, where can one buy NFTs? And what is the
Uh,
process? Can you explain the process?
Sure. So before we get into the marketplace, I want to tell how it works. So there are different blockchains, right? So there is the Ethereum blockchain, there is the Tezos blockchain, and Solana blockchain, and everything like that. So depending on that, there are different marketplaces that operate on different blockchains, and some marketplaces they are multi-chain, which means that you can buy on say Tezos and move it to an Ethereum thing. And if someone wants to pay via Ether, right, they can get paid in Ether and sell that NFT to them as well. So all those options are available. And for example, on the Ethereum blockchain, there are the most famous is OpenSea, right? Even I think day before they reached 300 million, and they got valued at
Valuation is crazy. Yeah,
13.1 billion.
billion.
And the two founders, by the way, they are the first NFT billionaires.
Wow.
So their valuation just took off as well. So anyways, so there is OpenSea, there is Foundation, there is Mintable, Rarible, and all these different. Ethereum has a lot of marketplaces, right? On Tezos, you have Colormint, you have I think one of it's called One Off, where you so music NFTs and things like that. You have so many other market. Hiketnum, not Hiketnum, Object.com as well. Hiketnum used to be there. It used to
Hmm.
have a lot of transactions. Then it got, I think it got moved over to Object or something like that. So all these different blockchains have different marketplaces. But I think what will happen eventually is all these marketplaces will become multi-chain, because that is the demand right now, where I
Yeah.
can buy it. For example, if I buy it on Tezos, I don't have to pay Ethereum's gas fee, but I
True.
can wrap it into an Ethereum-based NFT, and I can get paid in Ethereum if someone wants to do
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even for
So all these
transactions
things,
as well, right? Multi-chain is the way forward. It has
yeah,
to be. Right.
yeah, and even
Right.
Polygon. So they are having a lot of marketplaces.
Hmm.
So I think Try Showtime is on Polygon, and different other such Doing Good is another marketplace. So
Hmm.
they are on the Polygon network as well. So
Right.
Doing Good, Try Showtime. I think yeah, a couple of other marketplaces on Polygon as well that use Matic, and they reduce the transaction fee there as well.
True. True. And what will be the process for any person that wants to, do his first transaction or buy an NFT?
So what you'll have to do is first get that particular native currency. So if you're on the Ethereum blockchain, you need to get some Ether transferred to your MetaMask wallet, and all the transactions will be done using your MetaMask or Coinbase wallet or
Hmm.
Trust wallet or things like that.
Hmm.
So if it's on Ethereum, you need some Ether. If you're on the Tezos blockchain, you need to have some Tezos. And for the Ethereum blockchain, you need to have MetaMask as usual. For the Tezos blockchain, you need to have something called the Temple wallet. But
Yeah.
it's an exact, it's similar to MetaMask in its functioning. It's a web-based browser,
Yeah.
and all the transactions are ditto exactly like how you take part in MetaMask transactions.
Hmm.
So I think that's the only thing. Once you do that, you need to just have Tezos for the gas fee as well as the artwork price. If something is at 100 Tezos, right, you need 100 Tezos plus some gas fee, things like that. So maybe point one or 0.001 Tezos or something like that for the gas fee.
True. True. Okay.
And the artwork is yours. It will take barely around 1 or 2 minutes, and it's there inside your wallet.
A wallet. Okay. Okay. Uh, is there a way where people can showcase their NFTs? Is there like kind of a gallery?
Yeah. So there is this uh, web-based application called oncyber.io,
Mhm.
where you can connect your wallet again and whatever is inside your wallet. So, for example, if you bought a particular MetaVoice
Yeah.
piece,
Yeah.
right? So that will reflect inside your Temple wallet or
Hmm.
your MetaMask wallet.
Hmm.
And I also forgot on there's Binance Smart Chain as well. A lot of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
marketplaces are on the Binance Smart Chain. Companies like WazirX NFT as well as Orica.
Hmm.
So Orica is I think a European-based market.
Hmm.
So yeah, once you have it inside your wallet, right, you'll see okay MTVC one or something. You can give initials to your NFTs.
Yes.
So once it is there, you can basically click on that on cyber.io, and then you can just put it on a gallery. So they
Hmm.
have these pre-made gallery walls and everything, and slots inside the gallery walls where you can place your artwork,
Mhm.
and you can present that to people or just share that link to them so that they can open on their browser or their phone or anywhere it is,
Hmm.
and they can see all your works and they can click on the painting or the artwork as well, and they'll get details of all of that and get redirected to them to that particular marketplace or something.
Okay. Now tell me, like, if someone is accessing my piece of art, right, and he takes a snapshot, like a like a simple screenshot,
Yeah.
and then mints it, right? How is the protection? How does the protection work in terms of digital art and digital works?
Yes. So, firstly, a lot of companies are working on solving this exact issue, but till now, what was done, and this is the beautiful concept of the NFT community, right?
Hmm.
So, whenever we see a person's artwork, just someone has taken a screenshot and minted that artwork, the community becomes the security, like protocol layer on this entire NFT community, and they can report it to that marketplace, right? So MetaVoice only some one person, like people know that okay, this is the guy that did MetaVoice, right? So if someone else mints MetaVoice or even changes the name, but change sort of adds a filter over how it looks,
Yeah.
people know the what do you call the traits or the character of that particular NFT piece. So then it can be reported back to OpenSea. OpenSea will take that action or any marketplace. So I think even on other marketplace also the same action can be taken as well. So the community is the strongest layer of protection right now.
Hmm.
So that is why it's so important, even as an artist, for you to establish yourself so that they'll take care of you and you will take care of them. Right? So that sort of bond is a beautiful connection that you get.
True. 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 Makes sense. Yeah.
But there
Community.
are companies, I think even some founders I know they're working on solving this exact problem, because this is a major problem right now, right? Where there is copy minting happening, and wash trading is another big thing that is happening on some marketplaces.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think avoiding that will build more trust among people to come and collect the artwork because they know it's legit. They know that this is what I'm buying is the exact original piece. So that I think will be a major problem solver. I think this year should be able to solve that problem.
Okay, okay, okay. And you mentioned about a few networks, right? So, in order to make the maximum profit, right? From the profitability side of things, people, person who is just starting off his NFT journey, which network would you recommend? I know for Ethereum, the gas fees is like crazy. For the others like Solana, there's one. There's for Cardano, there's one NFT marketplace. For Tezos, there's one BSC, and so on. Which one would you recommend to go on to?
I wish it was an easy answer, but the thing is, I know a lot of people who spent exorbitant amounts of gas on on their artwork and they've never sold it. as well as people on other blockchains where it doesn't take a lot of gas, they've made a lot of money as well, right? So it totally depends on where your collectors are coming from and where you see a better fit for your artworks. Right? So for me, it was when I was exploring again. I was on the Bharat Finance group, and I asked this question like, guys, I want to sell, sell my NFTs. What is the best platform I should be looking at right now? And that is when our common friend Sachin Jain ji. So he's like, Tata, look at Calamint. So I still remember that exact comment. So that time I was like, yeah, I've heard the name before, and then I just DM'd Sachin. What is the best way to connect, with the founders of this? I want to do this right and understand what are all the things that happen. And he helped me out, and as it was as simple as that, right? So I think after a while, it shouldn't be so much about which marketplace you're going to be going. I think if you're an artist, right, I think it's very important for you to be blockchain agnostic, which means that you shouldn't look at what a particular community or whether you strongly believe in a particular blockchain or not. You focus on your artwork wherever you see more value for your artwork. Just go there. It doesn't matter which particular blockchain you're choosing, because you are an artist. You are not a researcher or someone who focuses on where can I make more money or something. That may be a factor, but purely focus on the artwork. So if for every artist it works in different ways, because as I said, right, like there are a lot of people who spend a lot on other blockchains and they don't make money. And even on for example Tezos, right, I know some amazing artists, but their artworks are struggling at some particular point in time, and everything happens in waves. Like even some really big artists I know, even for a few months none of the artworks were sold, and I don't think it should be a factor at all, right? Mainly because we are so early into this. We're not even 1 year old properly.
Exactly.
So I don't think we should be focusing on the sales or anything at that point. Just worry about getting the artworks. The community will decide how your work is, and I think that should be the major factor.
Right. And as an artist, can I make my artwork available across chains, like across different
Absolutely.
marketplaces as well?
So I'm on different blockchains as well, right? So Binance Smart Chain, Tezos is my first, Polygon, and different blockchains like that. But again, one very important thing is, because I've been asked this question, many not this exact question, is can I put the same artwork on different chains?
Yes.
That is a strict no. You can't do that. So what you could do is burn a particular NFT on a particular blockchain and then move it into another blockchain. So that is the only possible way. Burning is basically you're removing the details from that particular blockchain. It will still exist, but it's in a burn wallet where no one can touch it or do anything to that particular NFT. So it's as good as dead. So it's like the lost Bitcoin.
It's like cold wallet, right? Moving it to a cold wallet.
Cold wallet, and it's like something which no one has access to. So no one has that particular account's
True.
So I think that is the only way to do it, because initially what people did was wherever it got sold, it got sold. It's not like you can put your work on Etsy and other companies and sell your artwork, because that is infinite supply.
Yes.
Since here we're dealing with NFTs, which is non-fungible, very limited supply. So it has to be on a particular blockchain, on a particular marketplace. If you want to move it, first burn the entire thing and then move it onto a different blockchain. That is a standard SOP that is being followed, standard operating procedure.
Okay. And you mentioned you hold a few NFTs of your own. Which one is your favorite?
None of the. So I primarily buy artwork. I don't get into collectibles unless I am like awake up at 2 or 3 in the night and I'm thinking of what should I buy. So in Tezos there's a project called T-Mans. And for me it was completely random. I think it was around 2 o'clock in the morning. I was just about to doze off, and then I see one new NFT, and it was a first edition. And I love collecting first edition pieces. And even the Fuzzballs one, the flip which I talked about, right? That was completely by mistake. I think the launch was at 8 o'clock at night, like Indian Standard Time. I woke up at 7:45 and I just had to check some emails. And that time, I'm my Kalaman browser was open, and I saw the first edition just pop up,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, fine, let me just buy that. It's 2 pesos, and then people started going crazy for it. And then I started researching on Twitter.
Yes.
Otherwise, I could have bought more cards. Then I started, okay, what is this thing that I just bought? And then I started seeing the details, and I just put a random number and got sold. But yeah, that's how it is.
Any CryptoPunk or Bored Ape in your collection?
No, if someone wants to give me one, I can send them my address. So a lot of people I know, they own a Bored Ape Yacht Club. CryptoPunk, a friend I know, has a fractionalized share of it.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that is going to be another major trend in NFTs as well this year. So fractional ownership, which
Yes.
means that if a CryptoPunk costs say $10 million, and if you issue shares of say 10 million shares of that particular CryptoPunk, I can own a share for $1, right? And I can buy $50, and that percentage of ownership is what I'll have. Which, if you look at it the other way, it's a DAO. Right? So you're building a community of people aligned with a particular thing, saying that, okay, what do we want? Like
Yes.
that meme which
Yes.
what do we want? We want the crypto. When do we want it? Right now.
Right now.
Things like that. So that is where DAOs are going to play a major role as well. Whatever you want, people want to. I think there's a thing called Constitution DAO, I think, which my friends are a part of, where they planned on buying the American Constitution, right? So DAOs can change a lot of things for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
let's see where that heads up as well.
So what are some of you mentioned some of the trends that are coming through in 2022. One of them is of course the DAO thing which you mentioned. Can you tell me about a couple more trends which you see coming through in 2022 and which could actually make NFTs more accessible? Like one of this, like the fractionalized part of owning is absolutely one which can make it more accessible to people, right? So, so what are some of the trends that you see that are coming through in 2022?
So I think more of so there is a marketplace I know that is working on, like, sort of social impact organizations, where with every NFT that you so it's called Doing Good. So what they do is every sale that you make, you have in the smart contract, you have to mention which NGO you are going to be working with. So for example, just for example's sake, if there is an Indian NGO, right, I can say that, okay, every primary sale of mine, we'll split it 50-50% between the artist and the particular NGO, and every secondary sale, right, say 70% goes to the collector who collected it and sold it, 70% of that profit, 15% for the artist, and 15% for the NGO. So thereby, even NGOs are making money in perpetuity, right? So that is one thing DAOs are going to explore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, NFTs will seep into other categories of life. It could be any form of ownership. So again, right now we own so many different things, right? And it's already happening. Adidas, Nike, all these
Big
brands
brands.
are getting into the metaverse, and metaverse will be. I hope metaverse will be the biggest play. Of course, I am biased at this point because as a designer, I have to be biased towards the metaverse. Even as even yesterday, I was spending some time in Samsung's metaverse, so just checking out how they're integrating all these cool things and stuff. But yeah, I think DAOs, metaverses, NFTs, that's just gonna boom for a long time to come. But NFTs artwork was step one, right?
Right.
What happens after artworks, like collectibles, definitely, and apart from that, different ownership factors of our daily life. That every single thing will become into NFTs. Gamers, people, all these gaming companies will, I'm assuming, will eventually move into NFTs because all the assets that they create, right? So that can be taken as NFTs as well.
Yeah.
When I entered the New Year's Eve event in the metaverse, I had a beatboxing show there.
Yes.
I was performing in the metaverse.
Yes.
At that point, when you enter the metaverse for the first time, you're like a naked body. Just have some basic shapes. So people there gifted helmets as NFTs, like T-shirts as NFTs, and things like that. So a lot of community is in play, and community will eventually link every single thing: NFT, DAOs, metaverse, and everything.
So the metaverse and NFTs will go hand in hand, right? That's
Absolutely.
it'll grow hand
Absolutely.
in hand. Okay, okay, okay. And coming to your project, MetaVoice, can you tell us a little bit about MetaVoice? What exactly is MetaVoice, and some
So
details which you can reveal, of course.
yes, yes, absolutely. So meta voice is basically it allows you to see the human voice rather than just hear it. So
Hmm.
even when I'm speaking right now, you can only see my lips move, and you can hear what I'm trying to say. But that is, you're not actually seeing the voice. You just see something which is causing that particular voice to be generated. Right? So meta voice is a research project of mine which I started way back in 2016 because architecture is there, right? I'm doing my internship in architecture and I'm beatboxing. How can I fuse both of these? Because they are very similar. Because beatboxing as a performance art, right? You can't just focus on the performance part of it and not expect to, grow big. You need to know so many different things. How do you brand yourself as an artist? How do you market it? What exactly do you show people? How do you price yourself for events and everything?
Hmm.
So even with architecture, there's a very famous quote which says, "Jack of all trades, master of none." You need to know how to build your business as an architect. If you're just a cool designer, it doesn't work out, right? So different. I wanted to fuse that, and that is how Meta Voice was born. So it allows you to see the human voice instead of just like rather than just hearing that. So that happened, and in 29 late 2019, I decided to make this as an NFT and keep it ready for 2021 launch. And again, because of the pandemic, I think I was motivated enough to get these out as NFTs because I had a lot of time to work out of my home.
Hmm.
So I think that was really useful. And when I started off, I just minted my works with Sandeep on Kalame. And right after that, as soon as I reached home, I was just scrolling through my Instagram, like trying to get the word out that Meta Voice is there. And just so happens that I came across this like one friend of mine, we're on part of like a mutual WhatsApp group and Facebook group, and he had NFTs in his bio. His name was Gaurang Desai. I was like, okay, fine. I just messaged him and I told him that this is what I'm trying to create. This is what Metaverse is, and he just told me one thing: just send me your NFT link. And he loaded some Tezos onto his wallet, and he just got that. So it got sold within like 10 minutes of listing it. So when I minted my NFT, I didn't list it
Hmm.
because I wanted to speak to my collectors first and understand what it is, so that I can then share the idea with them, right? So again, money. I wasn't looking at purely in terms of money to sell it instantly. I wanted to speak to people because again, who your collectors are is a pretty important thing. You just can't sell it to anyone who wants to collect it, right?
True.
So it's always best as an artist to speak to your collectors and understand where they're coming from, and then share the idea of what you're trying to create. If it's a good fit, it'll be an amazing thing. Because after that, again, right now we are super close. We discuss almost every alternate day about NFTs, metaverses, and that sort of thought process and that discussion. For me, that is everything. For me, I love being in this creative environment 24/7.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
want to
Hmm.
focus on anything else. It'll all take care of itself.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's been my journey. By now, totally currently 5 MetaVoice pieces exist.
Hmm.
So in MetaVoice 1, there is 5 editions. MetaVoice 2, MetaVoice 2 is a one-of-one piece.
Oh
3 and
wow.
4 is a one-of-one piece as well. And 5, it's split into two. Basically, there is the red pill and the blue pill because for Matrix, I made that special MetaVoice piece. So the red pill is sold out. The blue pill, which is the simulation piece, that is available as well.
Which marketplace are these live on?
This is a mixture of Calamint and Wazirex. So
Okay.
3 pieces on Wazirex, the rest of them are on Calamint.
Sure. So, guys, if you want to check out Abhishek's NFTs, I'll leave a link of it in the description below. Go down and just share some love. He is an amazing, amazing artist, guys. Okay. So, Abhishek, just one last question about NFTs. Is this a passing fad or is it here to
Not
stay?
Absolutely not at all. Because NFTs, that's the thing, right? So everything when it starts off is purely speculative. We don't know what the future is, and there's no. So once you have more data, you can obviously make a path for it, whether you see it going ahead or if it's just like a, as you say, like a passing fad, right? So what happens is, again, we are the entire community is having these entire discussions about NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
where it can head into, right? And people are splurging. All the companies, if you see, including the celebrities,
Hmm.
in less than 1 year, I would say, in just a
Yes.
matter of months, if the entire world is getting into NFTs, imagine like what we humans were actually waiting for, right? It's a way for us to digitally, showcase ourselves better. And I don't think that, because it is still just scratching the surface. Like, not many, the community is still very very small, right? Not when, for example, if there's a clubhouse room of 100 or 150 people, we all know each other, right? So the community is still extremely very small. And
Hmm.
art is again step one. This can get into the metaverse, right? Like digital land, and you can have events over there. This is what I was discussing on another podcast. Like, why are people crazy enough to spend tens of millions of dollars into buying up land? And I
Hmm.
think one of the reasons is basically people are so fed up with real life that they need that means of like a digital space where everything is, calm, and that sort of fun. And again, it's like a therapy session, I would call it,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? It's a way for us to feel comfortable and get into our safe space, and just neglect all the problems for a while. So people, if people have money, why not? What else will you do with it?
Yeah. So, in other ways, COVID has come as a blessing in disguise
It
for,
is. It is.
yeah, for,
I shouldn't say this, but yeah, it kind of motivated a lot of people to look at other avenues.
yeah,
I am a beatboxer. I'm an
yes,
architect. I
yes.
shouldn't be thinking about digital ownerships. But why? Because I was always like, curious enough to see what exactly is happening, what is trending, and then keep the working on, like, just get into it. For me, even with architecture, I've always been working on sort of like these weird buildings and stuff,
Hmm.
which in real life can never be constructed. It's always like some sort of a futuristic thing, right? So when I came across NFTs, I was like, okay, fine, this is my ghar, this is my home, and
Yeah.
then, like, let me establish myself in this particular space. It was as simple as that. There is people like sort of overcomplicate it, but it's as simple as that. Find what works for you, just keep doing more and more.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you so much, Abhishek. This was really, really helpful for our community. We are a young community, still growing, and NFTs is something that I was planning to cover. But to be honest, since it's not my forte yet, I thought to get an expert like you who could explain in detail about these, every small things about NFTs and all. So, guys, if you want to check out Abhishek's works, again, the links for that are given in the description below. Feel free to go out there, show some love as well. Abhishek, just one question about your performances. Whenever you are performing now, like I am with you on Facebook, I know whenever you are performing, but for the community, right, how can they follow you, how can they follow you?
About my performances, mostly I'll keep updating them on Instagram, and
Hmm.
most recently, like since early of 2019, or late, early 2021, late 2019, Twitter is my main space. So I've been extremely active on Twitter.
Guys,
So if anyone wants to connect with me, Twitter is the best place.
make sure you follow Abhishek on Twitter as well. The link is down there. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you so much for this amazing session. This actually helps a lot in taking the right step towards NFTs as well. I believe there are a few artists in our communities as well. Guys, if you ever want to connect with Abhishek, the Twitter is there. He can possibly can guide you as well on that. Right.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you for having me over as well to speak about NFTs. Again, it's too early to be termed an expert. Like, everyone is learning every single day.
Yeah.
Like, what we think we are an expert in, like, one day, we just join a clubhouse room and realize, like, oh shit, already the community has moved on to something else,
Yeah.
right? So I think that is a beautiful thing, because it always keeps us on our toes. Like, we always have to be connected.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you for having me share and speak. I love speaking about things.
Thanks.
So yeah, it was an amazing
I
experience.
I
And
hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope to get you back very very soon to speak on some other
absolutely,
topics as well. Right. So, okay. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Take care. Yeah. Bye bye.